I don't get why you're so against the new costume change. After all, Hulk has nipples.
Yeah, but Hulk has no shirt. Iron Man is wearing a power suit. Greetings, fellow OMRs. It's the One More Rewrite Podcast, where we review the previews, talk about all the latest movies, and give you your report on what you should watch. I'm going to be talking first about some news that's been crossing the wire. It's mostly costuming news this week, which is kind of cool, and I have my own theories about that. Also, we've got your favorites with the TGFV, thank God for video, and movies that needed a rewrite. But before we get into all that, let's just briefly talk about the box office and how things are going. And, well, as one might have expected, Avengers Age of Ultron, which opened late Thursday night, just basically doing gangbusters. 200 million so far worldwide, and the estimates on Box Office Mojo have it so far 84.46 million. And yeah, this is obviously going to cross the 100 million mark before the weekend is over, and very easily going to make its 250 million production back, or production budget, I should say.
Probably already has.
Probably already has. But,
well, yeah, because it has internationally.
But, yeah,
and we're looking at, I guess, most recent estimates that I saw said right around 210 million for the weekend, which would put it above Avengers. Still beat the original Avengers, which only made a little over 80 million its opening weekend. Not the biggest opening weekend of all time, because that goes to Harry Potter 7.2.
Yeah.
Deathly Hallows Part 2, which made 91. Although some people at Disney say that they think that the Friday numbers are forecasted low, and they expect it to be closer to 90. So
okay.
We'll have to see, and when they actually tally the numbers officially, what it comes in at. But that's but the estimates are 84, which is pretty darn good for an opening day. Still not beating it, but still, huge numbers worldwide. Actually, the number one opening weekend in Russia. Which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I was going to say, hey.
Although still number 2 in the Philippines, which I don't know what that is. But that's but yeah, I thought that was interesting. I thought also interesting this week, Furious 7 passed the $1 billion mark internationally, which actually makes it only the third film ever to do that. Now, you see, when you total in with domestic, there have been a few films that have crossed the $1 billion mark. The first Avengers made over 1.5 if you include domestic. But if you just do international, it is only the third film to do that, after Avatar, of course, at number 1, Titanic at number 2, and then the third film to do that was Furious 7. And actually, this weekend also marks it being the highest grossing film in China of all time, beating out Transformers Age of Extinction.
Is this all just because Paul Walker passed away, or do you think it's just like people are really excited for car movies and it just comes across that way, or what? Because that's just crazy to me.
It is. It's crazy, but I think that, certainly the additional press that they got from having Paul Walker pass shortly before the movie was supposed to come out, far enough before so that it led to buzz about the movie.
Yeah, you hate to say that, but he passed away at just the right butter zone.
Yeah, right, exactly at the right time for it.
Sad.
I know, but it's Lee Harvey Oswald once said, "There's no such thing as bad press." So
yeah.
So I think that it's a combination of that. The build up, because there have been so many movies that have been actually pretty darn good movies, a lot of fun to watch and interesting, with the nice whole concept of family and everybody getting together. And not only that, apparently it's a pretty darn good movie. Like after the opening day, which is really like where you kind of have to set it. So if you go by the day after opening day,
Yeah.
on Rotten Tomatoes, it was at 91% fresh. So apparently it's a pretty good movie because even the critics loved it. Even Ultron, day after opening day, it was only at 90.
Huh.
So it was better than Age of Ultron, apparently, day after opening day. Now, you get all of the haters after that, so it tends to come down later. But you do have, if you go with the official critics that get to see the previews and all that, you're going with, going to be a pretty good movie, and I think you get a lot of repeat viewership.
See, now, the more I hear about it, the more I feel like I've really got to catch up and see this before it leaves the big screen. And I feel bad that I haven't seen it. And I'm going to feel worse when it goes out of theaters and I still haven't seen it and Furious 8 rolls around and we're talking about how we are here at Furious 8. It's like, yeah, I got to catch up on those. In all seriousness, though, it is phenomenal. I mean, I know that Avengers, you kind of figured Avengers was going to do the kind of gangbusters that it's going to do based on what the previous film did, but I just feel like every time we've talked about Furious 7, it still is amazing to me just looking at the numbers it's pulled in, because I don't know, it's just amazing to me that a movie, in my mind, it comes down to like, oh, it's a movie about cars racing and doing street stuff and such. It's just, it's like, wow, okay, so this is...
They really are better than you think.
That's what I'm coming to learn. I have not seen any of them, but... I'm coming to learn that they probably are better than I think they are, just based off of what my mind says. Oh, it's another racing kind of movie. And having worked at the theater, I saw a fair number of them that were just terrible.
Yes, and having worked at Blockbuster, I watched the ones that went direct to video, which were, I'm sure, even worse. But there's been a lot of them, and a lot of people have tried to capitalize on the success. But there's really nothing like the original.
Okay, I'll have to check it out, because I remember there was some kind of one with Lawrence Fishburne that came out shortly after the first one that came out. It was like about racing on that'd be funny, on motorbikes, and it was just...
Oh yeah, Biker Boys.
No, it wasn't Biker Boys. Was it Biker Boys?
Biker Boys the one with Kid Rock?
Biker Boys was
the one with Kid Rock.
I can't remember the one with Lawrence Fishburne. I just remember it starts off with like the main character's dad dying because he was a mechanic for like the head guy, and he died in a crash or whatever because one of the motorcyclists lost control of his stuff. The motorcyclist was fine, amazingly enough, but I still remember the line, like, Lawrence Fishburne's character goes to the son and says, "Your dad took it like a man." It was just like, see, this is why I don't watch these kind of movies, because some guy, he took it like a man. He gets flattened by anyway. Maybe that's something we'll talk about later on. It's like,
Biker Boys was kind of fun. I didn't see the Larry Fishburne one.
Yeah.
But anyway, what else you got?
What else we got is, well, there's a lot of news. Well, I don't want to say news. I don't know how you'd quite qualify it. There has been a lot of costume releases this past week, and that's pretty much what the news consists of that we talk about, aside from the box office numbers. Is you've got the Nightcrawler costume, Jubilee and Jean Grey, Casey Jones from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the new one for next year. Just cover those really quick, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Oh yeah, there's also images of the new Batwing. Not sure if you got a chance.
Right, I did check out that. Doesn't seem airworthy.
Yeah, okay. Well, then let's talk about the Batwing first before we go into the costumes thing, because I feel like that would morph into its own conversation. But the Batwing does not seem airworthy, and I keep seeing that pop up on comments from like Ain't It Cool News to Box Office Mojo site and whatever else people are saying. Like, and that almost feels really bad to me too, because instead of people saying, "That looks so sweet, that's awesome," you're getting, "That doesn't look airworthy."
I think that probably would be traveling about 3,000 miles an hour just to stay aloft.
Yeah. I don't know how to overemphasize this enough. If you have the fandom, their first thoughts aren't like, "This looks so awesome," but is that thing even airworthy? If they're thinking about aerodynamics when they should be thinking of how freaking awesome it would be to ride in the new, Batwing, then that's again, another problem to me. Like, again,
Right.
I'm just basing this off of promo images and trailers, but still.
I mean, even if you look back at the original Michael Keaton Batman, the Batwing in that one.
That one looks freaking awesome still.
That still looks awesome. And probably not airworthy either.
Probably not
Like,
airworthy
when you
either,
think
but
about it, probably not airworthy either. It's not
kind of a
well
giant
designed.
disc in a way,
Yeah,
but with like a couple
essentially.
of holes cut out so that you can have a little iconic picture of a
The
Batman.
picture of the bat symbol up against the moon, yeah, which is why they made it that way. But
Well, yeah. So I'd rather have that, and that's the kind of thing that he flew in the cartoons as well. Only a little bit more aerodynamic looking actually
Right.
in the cartoons. But yeah, I guess the fact that this doesn't look airworthy, and that's the first thought on people's minds.
it's that weird thing around the front.
It's
that
that
you're
weird
like, that's just going to drag you right into the dirt,
It's
man.
like they put the spoiler on the wrong side of the
Yeah.
car. It's like, look how cool this is. Like, no, man, that goes on the back.
It's not going to work. It's not going to work,
Yeah,
man.
it's like your first car project, and you staple the thing to the front, and somebody like puts like a hood ornament on the back of the car, and decide to put the spoiler on the front, and you don't
This
know.
isn't going to work, man.
Yeah, and they thought it'd be kind of cool to put the fins on the sides of the doors. You just would be kind of sitting there going, okay.
Like, well, it's an interesting design choice.
Yeah, you're trying to be polite without being like, this looks really bad, dude.
Stupid idea.
Yeah. Just to wrap it up really quickly, I can't say enough that it's not good when the hype isn't building, but the snark is.
Yeah.
You know, if people's first thoughts are snark or kind of like assessing the airworthiness, you're just not looking at at least in my mind, you're not looking at the box office draw that you're hoping for. I'll go see the movie.
That's partly the internet tends to be that way. But
also the internet can be where you want people like say, have you seen the new Batwing? Oh, we'll share this around before Warner Brothers pulls it. Because there have been new images that were pulled, that were leaked of the Batsuit, and I had people saying, that actually looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I saw them briefly on Ain't It Cool News, and then they were pulled down because people were like, well, I guess those were legit, or else they wouldn't be being, demanded that they pull them down. So it's like, okay, so the cool stuff got pulled, which is a shame, and you have the Batwing, which should look cool, which
it doesn't work.
it just doesn't work.
Well, and as always, gotta wait for the film to make your final decisions. Just like the early pictures don't really seem to give me that, ooh, that looks cool kind of feel about it. I just didn't hit me that way.
Yeah, and it should, though. It should hype you up. And speaking of reveals and hype up, I think kind of dovetails here that we can talk about the costumes, because obviously last time we were talking about, our differences of opinion on the new Joker look.
Yeah.
There have been a slew of releases this past week. I mean, like early on in the past week, you had a look of the new Nightcrawler, which has got the traditional thing. I mean, he didn't have BAMF tattooed across his forehead or his arm saying, I go through walls, which I think was a mistake. I kind of need those.
And speaking of which, they did announce that the Joker will not actually have those tattoos in the movie.
Yeah, but will he still have the grill, so to speak?
I don't think so. I think that it was really more of a promotional shot.
Okay, well, even that. Okay, so now you're saying they're walking it back, which is like, okay, so what
they're
if that...
saying we just put out a cool looking picture, which it was a cool looking picture. You were framing it entirely in the context of he looks like that in the movie. If you take it out of that, then it's just a cool picture.
I don't know. Here's the thing. I remember several years ago when a direct-to-video Batman Beyond Return of the Joker movie was released, and there was so much, I know you could say that's the internet negativity here, there was so much negativity online about what people thought was the look of the Joker. They had a promo shot where his skin looked green rather than traditional white, and people were flipping out over it, saying, oh no, what have they done? They've ruined the look of him. And they kept him the traditional look. They had the green hair, white chalk skin, and whatnot. But how do I say it? Because of the prevalence of social media and people talking about it online, you want people to be talking in a positive light. And not to drag us too much back to the Joker costume stuff, but I find it interesting that after that they quickly follow up with this is just promo shot stuff, because you shouldn't have to walk it back. In my mind, it seems like walking it back. I could be projecting here, but It seems like they're walking it back by saying, well, this was just a promo shot to get people hyped up for the movie, because it didn't seem, just from what I've read internet buzz-wise, there was very deep divisions on people saying, like, I don't know, wait for see the movie, and other people saying, I hate this, what have they done? Yeah. And when you have 50-50, that is not good. I mean, if you have people hating it, then at least people are talking about it, and you've got people buzzing. Again, as Lee Harvey Oswald once said, no press is bad press. Or if you have people loving it, all the better. But if you have people like going left and right about something like that, to me that just is, again, mixed kind of buzz, and I almost feel that mixed buzz is worse than great buzz or bad buzz, because you're getting that kind of lukewarmness floating around the internet.
Well, then how should they have just, released, this is purely a promo shot, Joker will not look like this in the actual film? You need a disclaimer before you look at a cool picture?
No, they took a gamble, and I think they lost, and they realized that they lost. But, I would say, again, let's to bring things into focus again, after this, we've had a week of costume releases. We had Nightcrawler, which I thought looked kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then a little bit later...
Wearing his Michael Jackson jacket.
Michael Jackson jacket, which I was fine with. And then, a day or two later, you had another release from Suicide Squad, which was Will Smith looking like Shaft as Deadshot. I mean, he's got this,
Well, an odd cross between Shaft and Nick Fury.
Yeah. and this is the new Deadshot costume, guys. And people... if people were mixed feelings on the Joker reveal, people were straight up pissed at the look of this. And there's some people saying, well, no, maybe it's just like him before he puts the costume on, because he looks nothing like how he's supposed to. I mean, this isn't even we took it in a different direction, which, I hate what might be the new look of the Joker, but at least you can stretch it in my mind, saying, okay, they've got green hair and touches of purple glove here, so it kind of reminds me of the Joker. Mm-hmm. Will Smith's look at Deadshot looks nothing like him. Yeah. I've heard a lot of people saying the same thing I thought. It's that's not Deadshot, that's Shaft. Where's the where's an eyepiece or a sniper scope or something to even vaguely remind me of it. It's just...
And just got nothing out of the picture.
I got nothing out of the picture other than just disdain and, oh man, this sucks. And then a couple days after that, we get a release for the costumes for the upcoming X-Men movie of Jubilee and Jean Grey, or X-Men Apocalypse, I should say. Right. And they look great. Jubilee's got the yellow jacket with the buttons all over it. Jean Grey's got kind of... it's not Femi Jason in this. This is supposed to be set in the 80s or 70s.
It's set in the 80s, yeah.
Okay.
Well, very clearly set in the 80s because of the outfits they were wearing.
I was going to say probably because of the outfits and the hairdos, but they look kind of like how I'd expect them to look from the comic books. Okay, people are still pissed because the X-Men didn't have the yellow spandex in the first one, but at least
their costumes remind you of, and it looks like something that they would wear in the 80s. Let's go to the mall,
Yeah, no, and that's great there, because Jubilee's kind of costume, I think she was a character who came out in the 80s, actually, and it works. She's got the poofed up hair with the curls, and again, the buttons on the jacket, I think it's a very kind of 80s, well, maybe not totally 80s look, but stylistically, the high bright colors and buttons all over,
Yeah, and it definitely fits in with the style of the era that they're going for. I think it works.
Yeah.
And the colors work, and it kind of, makes sense.
Yeah, and then later on that week, this past week, you have, I guess, Michael Bay's production team getting in on the costume reveal action, and you get a promo shot of Casey Jones from the sequel for the TMNT movie that Michael Bay did last year, which I did not see, which
wasn't that bad, actually. When you think about it, it wasn't that bad. I know a lot of people were upset about putting nostrils on the turtles.
Freaky looking weird.
Really, when you're watching the movie, it doesn't bother you. It doesn't take you out of it at all. That, it seems perfectly normal when you're watching it in context.
Maybe if you're watching in context, it seems better, but I guess in the trailer...
It was kind of funny, and it was...
Even in the trailers, it's just so jarring. You're sitting there going, please turn it off. I can't look anymore. So in my mind, I'm thinking, how could I sit through 2 hours of looking at something that gives me a very uncanny valley feeling just for 3 seconds?
Yeah, it didn't bother me that much, oddly enough. Having grown up with the Turtles, and then I read online, people are talking about, how do they put nostrils on them? And I'm like, didn't they always have nostrils?
No.
And then I'd like think back, I'm like, no, I guess they didn't.
Nope.
Why didn't they have noses? It's just kind of weird. I don't know. I didn't think that the new one was that bad. It's kind of an enjoyable little action flick.
Okay, but what
Not great by any means.
Well,
but
what do you
it's
think
fun.
about the new Casey Jones costume? I mean, it looks
Interesting. I think true to the comic.
Yeah.
Looks fairly good. He's got his beat up hockey stick. So I'll go with it for now.
I almost feel like, and kind of bring all this into focus as we're talking here, to me, it feels like all these studios that have released, not all these, because you had like Fox Studios releasing the pictures of Nightcrawler and Jubilee and Jean Grey.
Right.
I almost feel like there's this kind of one-upsmanship from the studios because they knew that the overall internet buzz about the costumes that were coming out for the Suicide Squad are pretty abysmal, like as a whole.
Yeah.
And so I guess it goes to the DC Comics / Marvel rivalry here. You've got, okay, DC is putting out stuff that looks absolutely garbagey. We don't like the looks of their costumes. Don't worry, guys. We've got you covered. We've got your real Nightcrawler over here and your genuine Jubilee and Jean Grey. And I could see, I don't understand at all why they released the Casey Jones image from the other studio there.
Yeah.
Unless it was, again, just part of me thinks halfway piling on since everybody else was doing it. And so, do you think that it all boils down to one-upsmanship from the studios? Like, I hate to put it in these kind of like playground terms, but it almost feels like my costume's better than yours. Oh, look, everybody's buzzing about how cool mine is.
Well, you frame it like that, and certainly it makes sense in its own way. But also, you have to keep in mind that these pictures are also, they're not like the Joker was a promo still for the movie. The other pictures that we've seen are pictures from set.
Yeah.
That people are kind of framing as, ooh, check out the new costume. But it's really just on-set pictures. So, yes, I think that certainly studios are releasing the on-set pictures, and I think that the ones for the new X-Men movie were actually released on, is it Bryan Singer's Instagram account? So it's kind of like, basically just the director, tweeting pics from on set.
Yeah.
So certainly I think that the studios encourage them to do that to kind of build buzz.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm not sure that it's that well calculated. I think that it's just, directors that are encouraged to tweet pics from the set and then kind of the internet running with them. That got, millions of people following Michael Bay, and he tweets a picture of Casey Jones. They go, ooh, check out the new costume for Casey Jones. And it's just an on-set pic, which happens to be a picture of Casey Jones, which I'm sure is encouraged to give people something interesting to look at when they get an on-set pic, and they're encouraged to do that, I think.
Well, yeah, but I also know that they want to get buzz for their own movie, and we are talking about a set of directors who are younger, who are like, our age range here, like the 30-somethings, like Bryan Singer, unless he's older than I'm thinking. And
he's in his 40s.
Okay, but a little bit older than this, but might have the same kind of mindset of, ooh, look at this, look what I'm doing, kind of cool. I get to direct the new, like J.J. Abrams released photos, like of, I don't remember what it was something in the Tunisian desert of set stuff. I think it was like just props from Star Wars like several months ago, and boom, Twitter and Facebook and everywhere is going nuts over it, and they cannot possibly just be kind of doing it just as idle fun. And yes, I'm sure the studios encourage that kind of thing, but at the same time I'm thinking there's got to be that kind of thought in the back of their head, I'm going to release this photo and I bet people are going to go nuts over it because I was in their position. I'm sure
J.J. Abrams would be going, hey, people are going to be going crazy when I put this up. Yeah, and he is because of the way that he talks about it. Like, ooh, the internet's going to go crazy about this. Let's break the internet. So, I think that there's a certain amount of that. And I think that for a lot of directors, I think, because I know, like that, like the WWE superstars and the UFC fighters actually get bonuses for being good on Twitter. You know?
Really?
So if they get lots of followers, it actually helps them out.
Oh, that explains
So
it.
it makes kind of sense that you might do that for your director. You know, hey, if you could tweet some pics from set that blow up on the internet, you know, that would be great. It might even be written into their contract that they need to post
Oh, I'm
a certain
sure. In
amount.
this day and age where social media is king and people sharing a picture is the
And
equivalent of...
so every so often you have to post a picture to the internet just to keep the buzz going. Yeah. Certainly, and it makes sense to do that. And I definitely would write it into my director's contract if I was doing it.
Yeah.
Like, it just makes sense in this day and age to do that.
Yeah, I get 10 cents per retweet of this picture, and then I get
Right.
13 million retweets or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it makes sense.
I guess so. It's just interesting to me, and I guess the reason I frame it that way is because usually when we're doing these news segments, it'll be everything from there's a costume reveal, there's something revealed about the plot of an upcoming movie, or something like a new piece of equipment like the Batwing.
Right.
But when all of your heavy news for the week sort of circles around costumes, following the internet's kind of I'll say semi-rejection. Okay, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt and say it wasn't universally hated,
Yeah.
but there certainly wasn't the amount of love that they were hoping for.
Yeah.
Following what should have been a universal reveal of just, oh, look how awesome the Joker is now. I get, like I said, I could be just trying to spitball, piece things together from what I'm seeing, but it just seems a little too coincidental.
Maybe reading too much into it.
I might be reading too much into it, but I'm smart enough to know that I'm not. No, I'm gonna guess that I'm not reading too much into it this time around. It's weird to me that it's all that way. Conspiracy. No.
Sounds like a conspiracy to me.
Yeah, really. Yeah, if you haven't checked them out already, go check out the Nightcrawler, Deadshot, Jubilee, Jean Grey, and Casey Jones costumes that have been released recently. And, of course, the unaerodynamically incorrect Batwing that's been revealed. And tell us what you think of them, of course. And but yeah, time now for a TGFV, Thank God for Video, where we recommend something you might have missed, whether it's recent or past or way past. We want you to go down to your nearest Blockbuster video store or chain rental place just around the corner and pick up a Betamax or Laserdisc version if possible. And if not, get one of those newfangled DVDs, Blu-rays, or even on Netflix. Find these. For me this week, I'm doing one that's kind of close to my heart. Krull. That's Krull. Sci-fi generic. I don't want to say generic, but it's a sci-fi fantasy piece from the 80s, and it has that very much sci-fi 80s fantasy feel, kind of a meshing of the two. But it is so much fun. Yes, you can make fun of the cheese factor, and it's just, I don't know. I think there needs to come a point when you just need to put down the snark book and put away your favorite Joss Whedonisms and just sit back, enjoy the movie for what it is. Yes, it's 80s. Yes, it's cornball, but by golly, I do love them. Yeah. And this has got so much of that in it. You've got your standard hero with the beard, princess that he's got to go rescue from the big horrible monster. You've got Cyclops. You've got, I think the bad guy isn't so much a fantasy monster as they pretty much say at the beginning. It's an alien that goes from world to world conquering planets.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool in that you have, I don't know, it's your basic Mario piece. Gotta go rescue the princess from Bowser, the Beast, as it's called in the movie. And it's got a great cast of side characters in it, all of which I cannot remember the names. Can't even remember the name of the main guy who stars in it, or the main lady. And it's really not that important because they're really kind of just,
generic set pieces.
Generic set pieces themselves. They do their best, and they do actually do. The main character, the main guy, does a great job with the character of the main guy, and it's, he's into it. You don't ever feel that he's overacting or being cheesy. And if you look closely, you can notice his band of merry men that go to rescue the princess. There's a very young Liam Neeson in there.
Oh, really?
Yep, Liam Neeson is one of the band of bandits of rogues, I should say, the good-hearted band of rogues that join up with him to conquer the beast.
Oh man, I gotta watch it again.
Yeah,
now
now you gotta go watch it again. And it also has one of the most awesome sci-fi fantasy weapons of all time that you go back and watch it, he doesn't use it that much, but it still looks cool. And it's like, a whole subplot of this is if he's really the true one to beat the monster at the end of the game, movie, he's got to go up this, like, fiery mountainside and reclaim a weapon called the glaive, which is this basic, like, ninja star frisbee of awesomeness that has multiple blades coming out of it, including the one that you're using to throw it. And it's like, it's the most dangerous thing to possibly wield, because it's like a 5-pointed star with blades coming out of each side, but because he's the hero, he can control it with his, hero powers or something like that. But yeah, it's so dense. No, it's got so much going on that's fun. It's got your, goofy sidekick magician doing sort of those comic relief things. And I don't know, I'm afraid of prattling on too much about this. I remember some heartfelt memories of this. Was one of my mom's and one of my aunts passed away favorite movies to watch together, even though it has its kind of sad moments as some movies do. They still loved it because it was just, it's fun.
It is. It's just so much fun. I remember rewatching it a number of years back, and I was making Jamie watch it for the first time.
Like, you sat her down and had her watch this for the first time?
I made her watch it. She wasn't as big a fan. She didn't grow up with it. Yeah. She enjoyed it, certainly, but I didn't realize until rewatching it these many years later, and I watched this so many times when I was a kid, but it never occurred to me until watching it just recently that the one character who is considered a crack shot, like billed as the crack shot, is the Cyclops.
Yeah.
The one character with no depth perception is the crack shot. And it took a whole new level for me. I'm like, this movie's hilarious.
It just makes that more awesome when you have, like, the Cyclops wields this, like, trident spear thing that he can throw at great distances and lob with humongous strength and just, like, boom, hit the enemy every time.
Pinpoint accuracy.
With
no depth perception.
But that's all the more makes it just that much cooler. I looked up the names really quick here when we were talking. It's Ken Marshall and a lady by the name of Lisette Anthony were the main, hero and princess. And truthfully, I know Ken Marshall went on to star in like a couple of seasons of Deep Space Nine. And Lisette Anthony, I actually looked through her career really quick here, and sorry to say, it looks like she was in a lot of forgettable stuff after that. So,
as happens,
I don't know how else to say it. It just happens with some of these
She's
stars.
still getting residuals from Krull.
Yeah.
So go out and buy a copy.
Go out and buy a copy of Krull. It's a fun movie. If you haven't seen it, sometimes it streams on Netflix, but you really should own it and just drink in the awesomeness, 80ishness of it. Because, I can't emphasize enough how you need to take a step back when watching a movie like this. Because I remember I've tried watching a movie like this before with friends of mine, and the immediate commentary turns on, and it turns into somebody trying to MST it, which on one hand I get. On the other hand, maybe I took it too personal because this is like a movie that's near and dear to my heart for personal reasons. At the same time, I think that the need to kind of poke fun at movies from the 80s era can get a little overwhelming at times. You just sit back and enjoy it.
Just shut up and enjoy the movie.
Just shut up and enjoy the movie. Not to be mean, but just sit back, enjoy it for what it is, wait till it's over, and then if you're like, oh man, I was so dumb or whatever, then we can have our healthy debate. But if it's your first time watching it, turn off the I've got to make a crack here to lighten the mood, because I don't know. Unless you're getting together with friends for that specific purpose. Yeah. Sit back, enjoy the glaive, that very awesome 5-star 5-knife blade weapon. Laugh at the jokes, because there are some really funny jokes, and there's some great dialogue. Great moments. And some really great character actors in there as well. Some fun, memorable moments. Liam Neeson in a very small role, and you're just like, holy cow, that's Liam Neeson there. Look at that, that's Liam Neeson. And, very 80s stop motion effects, but practical effects,
Yeah.
which also makes it that much more enjoyable to me. Something about practical effects in the 80s, even though they look kind of corny still, just like, hey, they actually did that. That's kind of cool. So,
For sure.
What do you have this week for Thank God for Video?
Well, in honor of Avengers Age of Ultron
Oh.
coming out, I decided to recommend a superhero movie.
Okay.
Kinda.
Kinda.
It's a movie called Special, starring Michael Rappaport.
Okay.
He's a meter maid, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
Who basically, keeps trying to, psych himself up to go to work, and he's very depressed. So he enrolls in these clinical trials of an experimental antidepressant. He doesn't feel anything for a while, and then, after a little while of taking them, he develops superpowers.
As one does.
Like you do. So he starts realizing that he can float and, then teleport and all of this. And, it's great, and goes back to his doctor and tells him, and the doctor goes, no, you're
Hallucinating.
You're hallucinating. You're having problems. But of course, the doctor is telling him the entire time telepathically that it's just people who want to take away his superpowers, and he should continue taking the drugs. So he thinks that he has superpowers, which he does not have. It's all in his mind. But because he believes that he has these superpowers, he goes out and starts fighting crime. And so he's, taking people out. He can hear people's thoughts, or so he thinks. And so he's taking out the bad guys before they do bad things, and actually kind of being a vigilante superhero, while not actually having any of the powers that he thinks he has. Which kind of, in its own way, is kind of, really makes it a really great movie, because he's actually doing it just simply because he has the confidence to do it. He couldn't ask out the girl at the grocery store before, and now he's got all this confidence because he thinks he has superpowers, and so he can ask the girl out. Like things like that. It's just really heartfelt. There's certainly problems with it, some continuity issues where it doesn't quite make sense. Like, how did he actually do that if he doesn't really have superpowers?
Yeah.
But that's kind of outside of what you should be paying attention to in it. It's really like a well acted. Like, I think Michael Rappaport does a great job with the character and really makes him sympathetic. And really kind of one of those movies of like, yeah, if you have the confidence, if you believe that you can do it, you can do it. And really kind of sold that for me pretty well. It's actually a very enjoyable movie. I think probably not everybody came to it at that. I think 55% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes at this point, so it's about 50-50. But I really enjoyed it. It is a bit cliched in the, the whole idea of, oh, you can do anything if you only believe in yourself enough.
Yeah.
Certainly, and there's plenty of movies that do that, but plenty of movies that do it a whole lot worse. There may be some out there, I'm sure there are, that do it better, but Special, for me, really good movie. I quite enjoyed it, and go pick up a copy.
I actually have to do that. I'm looking it up here. Yeah, it doesn't have the Rotten Tomatoes score, but I have a Metacritic score here of 57%, which that's right in that 50-50 range, so you have a better than average shot of actually liking the movie if you watch it. And yeah, there are certainly a number of movies out there that play on the whole, like, if you believe in it, it's never too late if you care enough.
If you care enough, exactly.
But, there's something nice about that, though. There's something nice about seeing the little guy win, or I don't want to say the little guy win, but just the average Joe, like, making it happen and keeping it real either.
But it's so much, and it is, like, he's so relatable in the movie. Of like how many people have been in that job that they just like they had to psych themselves up to go do again. And it really, it kind of like you feel that.
I want to see. I want to see it because that's like it's got me intrigued here. Plus, it always seems to me when you have movies like that where you have something happen to the average guy that his job is either way worse than you would expect. You know,
Yeah.
it's never just like a mundane thing.
Yeah.
It's always like the boss is coming in and I mean like Office Space, or the boss is just like
Right.
blithely like saying, okay, you have to work through the weekend, like Saturday and Sunday, and he doesn't even give a crap that the guy's like
Yeah.
he's basically screwed the guy over for getting time off, and it's not. I don't know. There's something I haven't seen enough of in movies, which is where the character is mundane.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, okay, I can relate to that because it's average. It's not like horribly over the top or everything is Christmas all the time
Right.
at work. But
it's kind of, but you do get that, and and certainly they do have those moments of him getting yelled at for ticketing the car for but it seems like just a regular thing that would happen if you were checking meters and ticketing people. Of course, people are going to come out and yell at you. It's like part of what that job is.
Yeah.
And you can see why he's so beaten down by just having that job. And so, yeah, I think really check it out. It's really well performed by Michael Rappaport.
okay, that'll be your thank God for videos. That's Krull, perennial '80s classic, and Special. It came out in 2006. Stars. Who was it again?
Michael Rappaport.
Michael Rappaport. So it's time for movies that needed a rewrite. It's where we tell you movies that sometimes they're great, sometimes they're not so great, sometimes they might be just downright awful. We like to pick through and make the minor changes or major changes that would have made it a better movie overall and kind of help fix it up a little bit here and there. So, Lunchbox, what do you got for us this week?
This week, I am rewriting The Blues Brothers.
You're rewriting The Blues Brothers?
Yep. Had to happen eventually. Okay. I know. This is one of those times when my rewrite and my thank God for video could have very easily switched places.
I was going to say.
But much as I love Blues Brothers, and it is so great, and all of the cameos and the great music and so much fun.
Orange Whip? Orange Whip?
Orange Whip.
Three
Orange Whips. Yes, just one of the great movies.
Yes.
But there's something that always bothered me in that movie.
Okay.
That definitely could have been taken out, rewritten somehow. It's Carrie Fisher.
I was going to say, you're going to say Carrie Fisher subplot with that.
It's the Carrie Fisher subplot. It doesn't work in the movie. The rest of the movie is fairly realistic. I know that there's some outlandish elements to it. but at least it's still within the realm of something that actually might happen in the universe. But the first time we see Carrie Fisher, she pulls out a 4-barreled bazooka.
I just figured out part of the hilarity.
Ridiculous. And it descends into the ridiculous. It is overly slapstick. It's just, it's cartoonish whenever she shows up.
Well, how is the 1,000-car police car pileup not cartoonish in its own way? How do you
It is kind of, but it's not the entire building falling down and then they step out from under the rubble.
Okay.
It's just way too much. It takes far too long for us to figure out who she is, for how over the top her character is. And it takes us out of the movie. We're going along just fine, and then she shows up, our Deus Ex Machina, who just shows up and kind of gets them out of the crazy situation. You could have just as easily had her be like a sniper, or a really bad shot, and she's got a rifle in the car and takes pot shots at Jake and Elwood throughout the movie that would have accomplished similar tasks, but not have been just that way over the top, and could have maybe made her more dark and mysterious, of who is that person, because you're supposed to be asking yourself, why is this person chasing?
Well, yeah.
But you really don't. You're not intrigued by it. You're just a little annoyed of why does she keep showing up? There's no real, until the end, almost to the end, there's no explanation for what's going on. Granted she shows up 3 times and 3's the rule.
I was going to say, a rule of 3 here.
But it doesn't work in the context of the movie. It doesn't work. There's no point in having her there other than having her accidentally help them get out of crazy situations. It was way over the top. Doesn't work in the film. Not that I don't love Carrie Fisher. It doesn't work in the film. Yeah, we need to either rewrite that part or take her out entirely.
I don't know. I feel like you're just projecting a little bit. As much as I'm not bored by it. I hate the term projecting. I should just say I think that I don't think it was that much out of the realm of what's happening. After all, you have the humongous car pile up with all the cop cars. You have that scene where the Illinois Nazis go flying off and basically into somehow they end up 500 stories above above the skyline here, and I don't know. For me, I felt like all the stuff that happens with Carrie Fisher's character, that it just felt under the whole hilarity ensues or hijinks ensues more like, and kind of a goofy slapstick element to the movie itself, which was already there, which already had...
It was, and it has plenty of the goofy slapstick. Her part was over the top and wasn't... Either she wasn't mysterious enough in the film, or they didn't explain it well enough of why. And then, between the second time she shows up and the third time she shows up is far too long. It doesn't make sense. She just shows back up again. You're like, oh yeah, that crazy chick that's around for some reason.
Okay, so you feel like it would have been better if she showed up just a little bit sooner.
Right, yeah, well, that would have helped.
Okay.
But also, it's over the top. It's even further than the 1,000-car pileup, which I think was the most cars crashed in a single movie up to that point.
For the record, I don't know if it is 1,000, but I know, it was the record setter for number of cars piled up in one movie.
Right. It was, at the time, the record setter.
Okay.
Which I think that has been surpassed by many movies since then. I think the Good Day to Die Hard probably destroyed far more cars during that car chase through Russia.
I know when they did Blues Brothers 2000 that they had wanted to quote-unquote top that, so they did actually use more cars for their pile-up, even though Blues Brothers 2000 was a little bit more of a forgettable movie.
It wasn't as good, certainly. They should have gotten John Belushi to come in Jim.
I was going to say,
yeah, well, they definitely should have gotten John back. But they should have gotten Jim, and Jim was supposed to do the movie, but apparently there were scheduling conflicts. And I'm like, well, just change the schedule. You've got to get Jim in there, because obviously, if you're going to have Joliet Jake's brother, it should be Joliet Jake's brother.
Yeah.
And they definitely should have done it, because they were going to do it with the three of them. They were going to have Danny Aykroyd and Jim Belushi.
Jim Belushi.
Oh, yeah, Aykroyd, Jim Belushi, and they were going to have...
John Goodman.
Goodman. I was going to say Walter Sobchak.
So that's why they went with the crazy kid side plot thing, is because they
couldn't get Jim. There's scheduling conflict, couldn't get him in the movie. They should have just waited.
I would say
made it later and gotten Jim in the movie.
They should have waited, because the movie...
Because Jim wanted to make it.
Jim wanted to make it. The movie was... I'm sorry, I didn't like it that well. I own the soundtrack, because the soundtrack is actually really good. But the movie itself, no, it did not feel like a spiritual successor, so to speak, to the original Blues Brothers.
And I think it really would have if they had gotten Jim.
Yeah, no.
I think it would have made it an entirely different movie. Like that, you have
no
Aykroyd,
kidding.
You have Jim, and you have Goodman, and you have kind of you would kind of go, okay, that's his brother, got it. And then you have their cousin, John Goodman, shows up, and you're like, okay, that works. Okay, fine. There's 3 Blues Brothers now. Cool.
Yeah.
They needed to get 2 to replace John,
Yeah, that works for me more than
that works for me.
Some sort of kid thing with, now we have a kid, and why do we have a kid? Because everybody loves child actors, don't they?
Yeah. No. Kids and animals. No.
I was gonna say that's the other rule. No kids, no animals. But okay, so you would have rewritten it with a different part with Carrie Fisher not in there, or at least tightened up her appearances.
Right. Yeah. Or make her more mysterious. I'd have to actually sit down and rewrite it to know how I'd rewrite it exactly. Okay. But, I don't think that it would be a bad idea to just cut her out entirely and just move on with the movie.
So, well, for me this week, I've got Paycheck, starring Uma Thurman and Ben Affleck. And just up front, I think Ben Affleck gets a lot of flack, so to speak, because of that horrible Geely movie. But he actually, made some horrible like choices as far as what to star in for a number of years.
He did. He made a few stickers along the way.
Reindeer games. But yeah, he's not that bad of an actor. From what I understand, he actually is a pretty good writer-director.
He is. He's very good.
From what I understand from the writer, didn't him and Damon won for best
right.
screenplay. So you've got, how do I say, the overall problem with Paycheck is one of pacing. I think that there's kind of a chemistry between Ben Affleck and Uma Thurman. And if you haven't seen Paycheck, what it is Ben Affleck's character is I don't know, what is that, criminal almost. He reverse engineers other companies' products.
Right.
So up front, you're supposed to buy that he's some sort of computer genius whiz type thing. And I don't think they set that up well enough at the beginning. You kind of see that he picks up a computer at some sort of consumer electronics show in the future and basically gets locked into a room for 3 months and pirates the technology and improves upon it and gives it to the company that paid him to do that kind of thing. And then the whole impetus of the plot is that he has his memory erased of the stuff that he's done.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, they don't make that clear either, whether that's just to keep him out of legal trouble. So nobody could say, well, like, didn't you do this? Like, no, I don't think so. I was hired by them, but I did accounting or something,
Right. Not to my recollection.
Not to my recollection. He could honestly say that he did not recall having done the kind of reverse engineering, pirating type stuff that he does. So he gets recruited by all people. What's his face? Aaron Eckhart?
So long, I don't recall.
I can't remember. He gets recruited to go on this long-term job that lasts a couple of years. And when he wakes up from the job, he has no recollection what he did, what the job was, but he's getting paid like millions upon millions of dollars for it.
Right.
So he thinks. And when he goes to open up an envelope that has all the money that he was supposed to have earned, he actually gets this weird eclectic collection of items that he basically MacGyvers his way through situations in the film. And I can't say any more about how I'd rewrite this movie without doing a quick, like, okay, here's your spoiler alert type thing.
Okay.
So, 1, 2, 3. The thing that he was building was a device that lets you see into the future. So he sent himself this envelope to help him get out of situations that he saw in the future because he knew that his boss was going to try to kill him.
Right.
And that's where the problems kind of begin. Is it's a great idea. It's a great plot. So he finishes building this machine, sees that, oh no, the guy's going to off me. What do I do to ensure that I live? And he falls in love with Uma Thurman's character, who works at the same place that he does.
Right.
Different departments, you know how it is. No inter-office relationship. So it makes it all okay in that standpoint, too. The problem is there's a number of flat points in the movie that just don't click along as well. I think it's great what they do with the envelope of items that he gets from himself in the past, where he, like, each time he uses something different when he's like, oh my gosh, this is it, I'm going to buy it. Like, just anything in the envelope applied to this situation. Some of it really flows along kind of well. Other feel a little kind of Rube Goldberg, like he got a ring that some kid steals off a bus, so he gets off the bus just in time to be in front of the right building that he needs to go into. A bit contrived in some places.
Well, yeah, but if you could see the future, you'd know exactly that was what was going to happen.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. It's just like, yeah, but if you see the future, you know it's going to happen that way. But I think it was awesome in that there's this kind of MacGyver-ishness, like he has to figure out what the heck do I do with this here. And there are other points, though, where it's just a little bit too much of a stretch. I mean, I think the problem with that is they didn't sell enough that Ben Affleck's character is this clever person. Yeah. Like, you kind of get the idea up front, okay, he does reverse engineering, okay, he helped build what's essentially not a time machine, so to speak, but just a device for looking into the future, so you gotta figure this guy's pretty smart, so he's a brilliant engineer of sorts, but they don't sell that enough. I would have tweaked his character so that you know and you get that he would be clever enough to, okay, I gave myself a paperclip so I could short out this train track so that I didn't get splattered everywhere by a subway train, rather than why not he just give himself some like bar or something. Obviously, he had to send himself odd items so that his boss would know what he was up to. But at the same time, you don't have to be so thick about it. Unless you're going to sell the whole, like, he's an engineer, so he would get this. And they didn't do enough of that. It was just sort of like, I wouldn't have gotten that, oh, I have a paper clip, I can short this thing out. I'd be like, well, and this is where I die. You know?
Right. Well, yeah, maybe just set it up with a pre-credit sequence where he is, like, in this weird situation. He's got to get himself out of it. And so, you know, he smacks the fork on the tray and it flips it over and takes him out of there. Or whatever, you know, just like so that it's in his real life and his regular life. And he does this kind of like little weird Rube Goldberg thing that actually helps him get out of it. So you know that he is the kind of guy that can figure stuff like that out.
Yeah, because everything, I mean, they do have a pre-credits, well, not pre-credits, but they have a sequence in the first 20 minutes of the movie where, yeah, he's locked into a room and you're supposed to get that he's engineered this computer that's like a hollow computer or whatnot. But it's too quick. It's like he goes in, he has the computer, he sits down, looks at it, like, what am I going to do? And then fast forward to 3 months later when he's already done it. You don't really have too many shots of him.
That's just him being smart.
That's just him being smart. That's not him being clever. Yeah.
That's and you need the cleverness. You need the thing of him being clever.
You need him being MacGyver before he becomes the guy.
Before he has to be MacGyver.
Before he has to be MacGyver. And that's it exactly. It's like, other than that, I don't get why the movie didn't do as well as it should have. I think that might have been part of it, and there are also some dead spaces in the movie where you have some good action clipping along, some parts that are really clever where, like, he has sent himself a key that he thinks is to a car, and then they click, oh yeah, no wait, this is to a motorcycle. And it has some really clever moments, but overall the pacing dies in a few spots, and you don't buy enough that he's this clever guy. It's just like all of a sudden he becomes clever because he has to be. So I don't know.
I can see that. Makes sense to me.
Yeah, but if you haven't seen it, go check it out and you can see what I mean. And if you disagree with Lunchbox, which I do, go ahead and recheck out Blues Brothers, which, you know, there's no reason why you shouldn't already be watching it like once a year at least.
Yeah, definitely check it out. And not only that, it's on Netflix. You know, so you can watch, just pop it on.
Just pop it on, watch it, see what you think.
It's definitely worth watching. It's just that Carrie Fisher drove me crazy.
See what you think. And now, time for Strained Metaphors with Lunchbox.
And your quote this week is, "We're getting the band back together."
Going with Blues Brothers.
Yeah, and that's part of why I chose Blues Brothers this week, is because of my strained metaphor. We're getting the band back together. That's so often we lose connection with people that we haven't seen in a while for whatever reason. Maybe you were in Joliet, or maybe you just, you know, got busy with work or whatever, and, you know, time goes by, you start doing other things, and you haven't seen friends for a while. And there have been many friends over the years where, you know, I kind of lost touch with them just because I ended up, you know, working and, you know, going about my mundane life and not talking to anybody. And so I've gone back and, you know, talk to them and, you know, get together with them every now and then. And the one person that I always wondered about is my best friend in high school.
Mike Park.
Mike, yeah. He, and I always wondered what the heck happened to him. Because we left and didn't know what the heck happened to him. Drink a toast to him every year on his birthday. No idea whatever happened to him. But on Wednesday, he found me on Facebook.
Okay.
He was watching Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which we were way into at the time, or at least I was.
I was going to say everybody was at that time.
And said, hey, I should check and see if I can find Devin on Facebook. And so he looked, found me. I get a message in the morning that morning, and I'm like, is that him? It looks kind of like him. Like, is that? And ended up in, he messaged some things about, like, us and, like, where we went to school and stuff. I'm like, yeah, that's me. Yeah, that is him. Yay. And so I ended up giving a call back the next day on Thursday. And we had a nice hour-long talk and got all caught up about what's going on with us and found out that he's doing really great now, which is just really just awesome. And just being able to reconnect with somebody after that much time was just so great. So if there is somebody out there that you haven't connected with in a long time, or, hey, even if it's just been a few months and not 20 years, try and reconnect with them. Go out for coffee or something. Just kind of put it together. There's just something about catching up with old friends that's just a great thing. And if they're reluctant to get back together for whatever reason, you know what to tell them.
We're on a mission from God. Well, thanks again for joining us on the One More Rewrite podcast. Hope to hear from you next week, and hope you hear from us next week. For Lunchbox, I'm Jester. Toodaloo.